and I love this guy. Celebrated my 50th birthday with him in New York. Susie surprised me with Josh Charles showing up, and just so much fun. I love this guy. Voice of America's game. He loves football. I don't know anybody who loves football more than him, and certainly loves the Baltimore Ravens more than him, with a big game coming up. My buddy Josh Charles back on the show. How are you, Josh?
How you doing, Rich?
So I've been going back and forth telling the guys here, do I call you confident but nervous, or nervous yet confident? How do I describe you today, Josh Charles?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, because I really don't know. I mean, I feel relatively confident, but I honestly, I could see it going either way. You know, I mean, I think it's going to come down to who makes a couple of those plays that turn the difference in the game. And we'll see. I mean, I think a big question mark. Obviously, there's been some talk about the weather. It doesn't seem like the weather's going to be too bad. Even if it is a little wet or it snows, it's not going to accumulate. That's what I've heard. So it's really about, you know, I think if the Ravens can run the ball, and that is, one could say, in a very balanced team like the Bills, and a very good team who I respect a lot. I really like the Bills. So it's hard, you know, because when you get in these playoff games, you like to sort of, you know, like the Titans I got to hate on a little bit, because there was some of the bad blood and Butler. And this is like, I don't hate anybody from the Bills. I like the Bills. I like their fan base. I'm happy for them. They're a good team. Josh Allen's great, what he's done this year. It's great to see Diggs, Maryland guy, you know, stepping up. But I really think if we can run the ball consistently, which is our bread and butter, keep them off the field, and then it's going to come down to a question of, you know, what Wink has in store in terms of pressures and fake pressures, and what we're going to look at. It's going to be a fun game to watch. I do feel confident. I don't feel as confident as I felt in the Titans game, just because I think the Bills are a more balanced team. But I like the Ravens. I like the Ravens in it. I like them.
So, you know, the offense for the Ravens, when it cooks, is when you have no earthly idea that who's got the ball coming out of the backfield. You know, you don't know if Lamar's a passer or a runner. You don't know if the runner is a runner, a blocker, or a receiver. Mm-hmm. And you also don't know if the fullback is the receiver. You don't know if the running back is the blocker and the fullback is the receiver. It is just truly amazing, but it does predicate on being able to run that offense and not have to come back from so many points down. And that's my concern. Again, unless was that rectified? Is it Hollywood Brown? Is it Dez? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, has that problem been rectified?
We don't really know, and you're right. I mean, look, to see Lamar, you know, and I know you feel the same way, because I know you've been a big supporter of his, but, you know, the criticism, and some of it, you know, is fair. I mean, you know, he's a young quarterback, you know, he's still learning and making adjustments. But the idea that he was such a victim of his own success, you know, can't win the big game. I mean, he's won some big games in the regular season, by the way, but 0-2 in the playoffs up until last week. So to get that monkey off his back, and at the same time come back from 10 points and really just sort of put the team on his shoulders. But I think, you know, look, none of those other quarterbacks that were drafted ahead of him in that year have been to the playoffs. You know, this is the first year. So to criticize him for something where he's actually made the playoffs 2 years, and as a Ravens fan, certainly I'm frustrated by, you know, both of those losses, particularly last year, where I really did think we had the chance to do it all the way. But I think you're right. I mean, I think that's the question. I mean, and also on the defensive side of the ball, I think as a Ravens fan, I think we were all kind of, you know, waiting for that type of defensive performance, you know, and to see them gel at that right time. It's the first time Calais, Big Baby, Brandon Williams, and Derek Wolfe, you know, had really been on the field together for, you know, in a while, because due to certain injuries mixed with the COVID epidemic, an outbreak on the team. So to see those guys and really have such a dominant performance, are they capable of doing that against the Bills? That's a more balanced attack. Yes, they don't have the rushing game that the Titans do, but they're more balanced, and Josh can beat you with his feet a little bit as well. I don't know. You know, I mean, that's what I'm excited to see. I mean, but the question is, if they turn in an 80% effort of that one against the Titans, is that going to be enough? You know, depending on how we do on offense. So I think the amazing thing that you said, you know, about that, you just don't know. What always impresses me is when I watch I mean, I'm obsessed with Baldinger, right? I mean, his breakdowns to me are just like the greatest thing on the planet. I mean, they're they're like Christmas for me. Every week I look at him, I want to watch him. I feel like he makes like a dummy like me understand the game better. And when he breaks down, those point of attacks and he freezes the play for a second. And you can see like in that Tennessee game exactly what you're talking about. And it's not the first time, clearly it happens all the time where the linebackers are frozen. Just that split second. And with the speed that we have between Dobbins and Gus and Lamar, you see what the challenge is facing this team. I thought the Titans did a pretty good job for a while. But what I was impressed with was Roman, just stuck to the plan. And, that paid off. And we'll see what they have in store. I'm sure there'll be some wrinkles, and he'll throw some things out there. It was nice to see Hollywood, move from Beverly Hills adjacent into his nickname a little bit more appropriate. Because there's been some times where his mouth has been a little bit bigger than the game, but I do feel like he really stepped up in a big way, and we need him. We need him, and he played fantastic and made some great catches. Lamar made that great over-the-shoulder throw. So, as far as I'm concerned, if he has another game like that, he's Beverly Hills Brown.
Yeah, I was about to say that I guess Hollywood Brown is much better than Thousand Oaks Brown or Tarzana Brown or Rancho Cucamonga Brown. Or I'm just trying to go through the names I hear on Traffic and Weather Together.
But I'm gonna give him. He's gonna get like Holmby Hills Brown pretty soon if he has another game like that.
That is a high rent district. Josh Charles, my buddy and diehard Ravens and diehard football fan here on the show. And we can sit here and go X's and O's as much as possible. And we're showing a photograph of you from last year's NFL honors with Lamar, the night that he was crowned the MVP. And the X's and O's, we can sit here about wrinkle this, wrinkle that, but he's like a human wrinkle. Like he is the game changed on a third down in a game where points were a premium, and then boom, touchdown from midfield. Like, what in the world is that like to be a fan of a quarterback like that? I mean, I'd love to know. Just walk me through what that's like, what that sensation is like.
I'd love to know, says the Jets fan.
Correct, Josh. You know me. So what is that? What is that like? What is that like, Josh?
Well, I'll tell you what it's like. I mean, after years of Stoney Case and Scott Mitchell and Elvis Goback and, you name all the guys. I mean, listen, I'm and still am a huge Joe fan. I mean, he put in, arguably that postseason, one of the greatest runs of all time. And the guy's just a class act and has such a pretty deep ball. But offensively, to see what we're doing, I think the Ravens, we've gotten a little spoiled. We were so hungry to have that kind of creativity, to have that player on the field. And it's what my dad was saying the other night. We were talking. He's like, he's a game changer. I mean, all it takes is, like you said, that 1 3rd and 9 on the 48. And next thing you know, the game's tied and the momentum just shifted. And I don't think we ever let up on it after that. So I think this is going to be a harder challenge. I mean, I think the Bills, rightfully so, have earned their seed. And like I said, I will be disappointed if we don't pull it off. But I'm also like a fan of that team. So it's really hard. But I do think the Ravens are in a good mojo right now. And obviously turnovers will be huge. You know what I mean? I mean, we had that one early in the game, but that was it. And I don't think we can do that in this game. I think everybody's got to protect the ball. And we do have to run it consistently and stay at it. And if we get behind, that will be tough and we'll be challenged. So we'll see. I mean, I'm excited about it. I can't wait. I just wish it wasn't so late so my son could watch it because he's pissed off at me.
No,
he can't watch it.
How old is Rocco now, Josh? How old is he now?
He just turned 6 in December.
Okay, so he's just getting there.
He's really into the Ravens. But the thing about talking football with a 6-year-old, and maybe there's different 6-year-olds that know he's pretty knowledgeable. Like we'll go through and he'll name all the teams. But my favorite thing talking to him about it is he's always like, who's playing? And when I tell him who's playing, like he knows who's good and he knows who's bad. So he's always like, oh, they're going to crush him. They're going to crush him. So I try to explain to him, hey, just because a team's favored or just because they're the better team, it doesn't always mean they're going to win, right? And that's why they got to play the game. Sometimes the team that's not as good wins on paper. And so I don't know that he fully gets that yet, but he's always, they're going to crush him. They're going to crush him. So we'll see. But he's excited, and I think all Ravens fans are excited. And I also think this suits this team better in a weird way. Like last year, I mean, we weren't used to that. We're used to sort of being on the outside looking in, being the wild card, being on the road. I think it just suits the mentality of that team better. Sitting, having the cushy bye week, thinking we're just going to keep rolling. This keeps them hungry, and I'm expecting it to be a fantastic football game.
Well, I guess in the fact that it's unfortunate that the game starts too late for Rocco now, it was a benefit to you, I imagine, on that Monday nighter that you'd have to tell your 6-year-old why Daddy and the rest of the country didn't really believe Lamar was out with an IV, right, Josh, on that Monday nighter? That'd be tough to explain.
I had the same feelings, but like I told you, I've talked to people that know, and they tell me without question that he's telling the truth, that he was cramping up, and
well, that's another way to put it, I guess.
What do you guys think?
Well,
do you not think?
We think he's number 8 in the program, but number 2 in the fourth quarter is really what we think. It's what
well,
honestly, I mean, and again, and so there's two things. One is, he came on the show and talked about how the defense is calling plays out offensively. So he does not have a lion bone in his body. That's number one. So we know that he speaks the truth is what he does. But number two, the one thing that we saw was when he was trying to enter the locker room, waving the poor schnook who was exiting at the same time he was trying to enter. We've all seen that quick motion of the hand to move. Because a movement was happening. We've all been there. That's what I'm saying.
I guess.
Josh.
Here's my issue with that, right? And I love that we're breaking this down.
Yes.
But I do think I love that we're washing it down.
Nice.
I do think that if it was that, let's just say it was, why would it have taken so long? I mean, you got trainers there, you got people. They'll give you the whatever the Imodium, whatever it is, take it. And do your thing and do your business and get back. He was gone for like almost a quarter, wasn't it? Like 15 minutes.
It was a while.
That's a long explosion. So I'm telling you that I think, and again, ask people point blank that I know that said 100% the truth. Dude was cramping up bad. That's what it was.
We need a baldy.
I just don't see him.
We need a baldy breakdown on it, Josh. We need a baldy breakdown on it. It's basically what we need.
We need a baldy breakdown. Just freeze it as he's going in. Now look at here at the point of attack. You see how he's just shaking his hand a little bit, and he's waddling a little bit. That little poor kid, the water boy, he doesn't know what hit him. He doesn't know which way Lamar's going. Is he going down left? Is he going down right? Oh, God.
I'm knocking stuff over. I'm laughing so hard. Josh Charles here on the Rich Eisen Show. Hey, before I let you go, I've never asked you about, because we talk pop culture here too. Before I let you go, I've never really asked you about Dead Poets Society, which celebrated a 31-year anniversary last year, and I've really never asked you about your experience on the set. We're seeing you right there as Knox Overstreet. How old were you? Were you 17 shooting this movie with Robin Williams?
I was 17, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing stories. The movie was supposed to get made a year earlier, right, with a different director, not Robin being in it, and it was set to go in like Georgia or something. And me and Ethan, I think we were two people who were cast, and I was set to leave and fly down and got my big break, and I was really excited. And in the movie, that they pulled it. They couldn't find a star to be in the movie that the studio would support at the time, and the director wanted some people who at the time were more unknown, like Alec Baldwin and Liam Neeson, but like the studio wanted a big name, and the director, so it fell apart. And then it came back a year later. And when it came back a year later, I think Peter Weir was directing it, and he had seen the screen test, and I don't think, he thought I was right or whatever. And so I had to go and like re-audition for the movie. Mm-hmm. And so I had to go meet him in New York and read for him again and kind of convince him. And I got the part again. It was a really, great feeling. So then it really just felt like it was meant to be. And then making it was really special memories to get to work with someone like Robin Williams at the time. And I remember being really struck by him because, we were all starstruck by him. But he was doing a play at the time. He was doing something with Stephen Martin. And so he came a little late. So I shot a lot of my stuff because it didn't involve him earlier. And when he came, he really kind of respected his place in the movie, that he knew he was the big star, but that we were all sort of sharing it in this ensemble movie. And he really was very, treated us like real equals, and he was always funny, of course, but also like really, you could tell just like he had this beautiful sensitivity to him, you know, and you know, took acting seriously, obviously, and was such a major talent. And he, you know, I remember like, I know he was very, and I knew a little bit that he was very close with like David Crosby, you know, and
the musician.
And I knew
the musician, the musician,
yeah,
the famous
Crosby,
musician.
Stills, and Nash Young.
You're right.
And that, you know, Robin, obviously, that was, I think, Public Reports had battled his own sort of, you know, demons in terms of abuse and stuff like that, and you know, with his own sort of, you know, excess issues. And I remember I was really into music, and I was playing the American Dream record. And I had it on, you know, it was like Walkman. This is stating ourselves here. And he was like, "What are you listening to?" We're in the trailer, and I said, "I'm listening to, you know, American Dream." And there's this beautiful song by David Crosby. Now, I didn't know he was friends at the time with David Crosby. You know what I mean? Like, the song's beautiful, and I remember putting it on for him, and he just listened. And you know, and then I found out later that like he knew him, and then I put it all together of like, oh my God, like he's had his own sort of struggles with addiction at times in his life. And I just remember he was very moved by it, and he just was. I don't know. He was just a great, great guy. Such a talent. I think a real lesson to us all that, you know, we project so much on to sort of our movie stars and the people we like, and everybody, you know, doesn't matter who you are, you're not immune to it. I mean, look what just happened with Congressman Raskin and his, you know, beautiful son, you know, that, you know, there's just demons out there, and people are fighting them, and it doesn't matter how much money or how much success you have, and sometimes that's what drives you. But the memories from him were very, you know, from that time were very pure and filled with a lot of joy, and that he was such a genuinely warm human being who was very funny. You know, he used to like that. I used to do Richard Pryor for him, and he liked that because I was a big Richard Pryor fan growing up. So I would have the balls to somehow, you know, do an impersonation in front of Robin Williams.
Robin Williams,
huh?
That's unbelievable. And I guess just as what you're saying too, Josh, that the message of the film, Carpe Diem, right? Seize the day and get on your desk and yawp. You know, like that's unbelievably what we're talking about what
I mean, look,
what
it's
happened.
One of those things when you start out young like that, it's like, you know, you get that break, and then the problem is you think, you know, now I'm 49 years old right now. You know, I've been in this business. that was my second movie. I've been acting professionally since I'm 15, and that was my first major role. And you working with Peter Weir and Robin Williams and all these other amazingly talented young actors, you know, and Ethan's someone who, you know, him and I are still remain friends, and Dylan Cussman is another one who I consider a friend, and Jamie Waterston, all these great people, and Robert Sean Leonard, and all these talented Gail Hansen and Al Ruggiero, and just great guys. And we bonded in the Radisson and Wilmington, Delaware, and going to the mall and playing video games and working with Peter Weir, who is this exceptional, extraordinary talent. So you tend to think as a kid, like, oh my God, they're all going to be like this. This is what the movie industry is like. And it's not. It was a special movie, I think made even more special by Robin and his infectious spirit and his talent and what he brought to it, and that he brought so many people into that movie. And also by Peter, who was really the sort of, you know, the Keating of the film, you know, inspiring us all, playing music for us. You know, I would tell people, if you watch that movie, you know, Peter used to play music a lot. It was really, and it's something that I've stayed with, you know, as an actor my whole career since, in order to sort of get into a moment of a scene or the tone or the feeling of what you want. I remember when we shot the final scene where we all stand up on our desks, he would play all this music, and he had like a boombox, you know what I mean? It was like terrible. And my dad, because I grew up in Baltimore, which wasn't very far, my dad was a commercial director and had a really cool, like, new Bose boombox that was like giant and sounded great. And he brought it to the set for Peter. And so when we filmed that scene, he was playing Maurice Jarre's music from The Mission, you know, that beautiful soundtrack from The Mission. And so, No, I'm sorry. He was playing, I think it's Morricone did the music for The Mission. Mm-hmm. My apologies. Ennio Morricone's soundtrack for The Mission, but he was playing that while we were all performing that. And if you listen to that soundtrack, it might be fun for people who are fans of the movie to watch it and think. And then Maurice Jarre, who ended up doing the music for Dead Poets Society, created his own version of that. But that's a memory that I'll always stay with, just that boombox that my dad brought, just blaring through, and we're all standing up and just feeling it. And he was an incredible person to work with as a young actor. And I remember he also did something in the original script of the film. And Tom Shulman won an Oscar for the movie, by the way. It was the one Oscar that I think the movie won. It was nominated for a couple, but he won. But in the original screenplay, you find out at the end of the movie that Robin's character was dying. I think it was cancer. I don't remember, but like, if you think about the film now, it's like all the stuff with Neil and the climax of that, and then at the end, it's all coming down on Keaton, and you find out that he is dying, and that's why he's so carpe diem and seize the day, and don't you get it, don't you see? And when Peter Weir came onto the film, it was one of the first things he said, "This is going away."
Right.
And Tom Shulman will tell you this. He was, like he was stunned and upset and like couldn't believe what he was hearing. And now I think he thanks his lucky stars, because it was just a great sign of a director like reading the tone of the film and the meaning of the film, right? And somehow if you sort of, explain it away, like, the reason he is this way is because he's dying, as opposed to this is just his spirit and this is what he's bringing to you, was much more, I think, profound and less sentimental, and just better. It's one of those things where you read, you'd never think of it any other way. And then when it's gone, you're like, how was that ever in there? This makes so much more sense. It makes so much more nuanced and interesting. So great experience, filming in St. Andrew's School in Delaware. And like I said, was pretty close to my home, so I could go home on weekends and hang. Although I was so jacked up and excited, I was usually staying in the Radisson, pretending I was 27 as opposed to 17.
I love it. I love it, Josh. Josh, it's just I love these stories, and I'm so appreciative of you coming on and sharing that, your passion for your craft and your movies and your Ravens. Thanks for the call, Josh. Love you, man. Enjoy the game.
Always good to talk to you, but I love you too, and give my best to everyone. I know Kurt's coming on, and give him my best. I love that man. He's a good dude.
He is.
I'll talk to you guys.
So are you. You got it. That's Josh Charles,
Thanks,
everybody.
Josh. Be good, buddy.
The one and only Josh Charles here on the Rich Eisen Show.
That was awesome.
Some great stories right there. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.